print. Today we're going to walk all the roads on the ranch, and it should give you a good sense of the scale of this place. It's come to my attention that there are several trees down across the road, so we're going to have to bring the chainsaw. I've driven an electric car for over 8 years now, and I can get to the ranch and back on a single charge, which is awesome. At current gas prices, it would cost me over $100 every day just to get up here. I love my electric tools, but a dear friend gave me this gas-powered chainsaw when I bought the ranch. Now let me just say, I don't lie at home at night thinking about my electric chainsaw. It's about 7:30 in the morning, and I've never been able to take a video of the toads that are hanging out at the pond here. So I'm gonna try and sneak up on them, but they're so quick. So, all right, wish me luck. They're so fast. That's probably why they're so invasive. So we're at a pretty cool little area right now. This rutted out road that I just walked up leads to several other roads. There's a split off you can see here. This lower road goes to a developed flat spot. We're calling it Camp 2. Camp 1 down there, Camp 2. We'll see Camp 3 in a second. These will all get better names, trust me. But just so that when we're talking, 1, 2, 3. This lower road, you'll notice there's some rock development here. There's a culvert. But when we rebuild these roads, we're probably gonna put in just rock that's kind of an armored surface with a little dip. So as the water comes through, it'll slow down, it won't pull any dirt through on the road, and it'll dissipate and then rejoin this gully here. The high road goes up and it cuts along this hillside and wraps up into this oak savanna that we're gonna explore. That's up where Camp 3 is. You probably can see it as well, is that shark tooth that I showed a couple episodes back. It's a spire, probably about 25 feet tall, really cool rock formation. I don't know how to describe this, but it's making kind of a snake sound, if that makes any sense, like a constant dragging through grass sound rather than like a rodent which kind of moves and stops. Anyways, we came up here in August, and I'm gonna take the camera over. So this is a big kind of depression area. But if you look here, this is June. Now, I think the reason why this isn't full of water, because it was full of water when I was here, and it starts up the hill where you can see that it's just green. It just seeps out of the ground right there. So that might be a spring that we develop later. And who knows, maybe it's attached to this geology, or it's maybe coming up from underground and hitting that rock coming out this way. I have no idea. But these ruts from driving up here are carrying this water down into the road and down that way instead of into that pond like it used to be. So we're gonna have to look at that. First things first, we're gonna go explore what we call Camp 2. This area is pretty cool because it is big and flat with a little bit of maintenance here to clean up some of these dead trees. It's got a pretty fantastic view down of the valley over here. And some of these oaks will need to be thinned a little bit. And then you turn around and it's a great big flat area here. Would be really great as a staging area, maybe as a campground. We could even put a small corral in here. We could even put in a yurt or some kind of structure.
On to Camp 3.
I was debating getting a full-size truck. Some of these trails, as they are right now, a bit too narrow for that. This is what we're calling the oak savanna in here, and you'll see the road curves up through the trees, does another split off, and that's going along this ridge here to what we're calling Camp 3. If you stay left, it goes up the hill and dead ends at the top of the hill. In the spring, this is just the most gorgeous place, and it's bright green. The leaves on these blue oaks is starting to come back in. Magical. The other thing that's really nice about this is not on the road-facing side of the valley. So this is tucked up in the foothills here. It's pretty quiet and it's pretty special in here. Somehow, it didn't get totally decimated by the fires. That hillside over there, I'll turn the camera around. So this hillside over here just got fully nuked. And I think most of that hillside was pine, gasoline trees. All of that green vegetation that you see coming back is mostly bay laurel. I don't love the idea of a huge bay laurel hillside, so we're going to selectively clear some of that out and make sure there's enough room in there for the most amount of biodiversity. Different types of oaks, different types of native trees, coffeeberry, toyons, you name it. These invasive grasses they die off annually, and they throw off a ton of seed and they outcompete the natives. And you can just see how just dry and hard and brittle and flammable all this material is. This is what we're calling Camp 3. Hang on a second. Yep, new plant. This is how it happens.
Honestly, Camp 3 is just a big flat spot and not that interesting. But what is interesting is this rod wire lettuce that I just found and looked up. If you keep walking up the road past Camp 3, you'll eventually arrive at the final peak at the southern end of the property.
This right here is the top of that oak savanna that we walked through. I had about 5 months from when we put the offer in to when we got the keys to this place. I was really excited and nervous, and I didn't want any nasty surprises, but I also was just chomping at the bit to start exploring this land. I did what I could with online maps, but you can only get so far. There's historical maps that shows what the forest looked like and the tree density before the fires. That's helpful, but the resolution's pretty muddy, and I got a large 24 by 36 satellite image printed out, hand drew with Sharpie the perimeter, and based on all the different maps I could find, as accurate as possible. But that just wasn't enough, and I eventually learned the USGS has LiDAR of most places in this country. I believe it's 1 meter resolution, so more or less 3 feet by 3 feet is a pixel. And at the scale of this ranch at 250 acres, I said, wow, that's not actually terrible. The more I started playing with it, I realized, wait a second, I could get this data and I could potentially explore the landscape. You can really see the topography, you can see where the roads are, you can see where there's erosion, you can see the peaks, in relation to each other. I eventually got that data and started playing with it. And the more and more I looked at it, as an industrial designer, I realized, wait, we could just 3D print this. I reached out to my brother, who's always down to collaborate on projects like this. But with a little bit of tinkering, he was able to 3D print the property. I was able to very quickly discover flat spots like this flat spot, Camp 3 that we were at, really understand the relationship of Camp 2 over to Camp 1, where we're thinking about putting water tanks and maybe even a well. That's Sunset Peak right there. And there's 1, 2, 3 other significant peaks on the property. Next up, we're gonna walk along this top road here, and we're gonna just take a tour and see all these different peaks and what they look like. So, you know, I've spent most of my time really exploring this area, and here we are, we're on this peak, way up in this area. There's just something really cool and physical about this. Anyways, big shout out to my brother Sean for helping me with this. We're gonna keep exploring how to translate physical property into physical objects. This is so cool. This is an exact example of what nature already knows how to do, but that we just kind of want to replicate and add more of. There was a pine that burned and fell down across this creek bed here. Notice the difference in height here. It's about a foot. And in the winter, you could see that the water was spreading out and soaking in up here. And then all of this sediment, instead of being washed down into the valley, is still up here on the hill. And it's only because of this, right? If it wasn't for this, this would be hollow. You'd have more bare rock. But it was just so cool that no one's done anything and it's just happening on its own. Yeah, I think, you know, when we get permits, we're gonna do more of this. And I think what'll happen is that the water will stay on the property longer and it'll soak in and it will hydrate the vegetation surrounding. The trees will shade this area more and you might actually have a year-round stream that comes out of this.
Okay, well, that was the southwestern portion of the property, and the rest of the property spans east-west. It's kind of an L shape. And so what I'm doing here is I'm driving up to the top of Sunset Peak, and then from there I'll leave the truck and we'll set off on foot.
The plan is to walk the ridge line. The road gets pretty rough from here on out. The truck could make it probably another 1/8 of a mile, maybe 1/4 of a mile. And then you get some really big erosion ruts. And there's really not any good place to turn it around. So I'm gonna have to haul all the gear. We're at Sunset Peak right now. There's another peak right here that we can walk out to. And then there's 2 additional peaks that we'll go explore all the way to the end of the property line. I'll make sure that you get a sense of what that looks like. From there, there's all these meadows and valleys, and there's just a lot. And so I think the goal here is just to give you a really good overview of the scale of this piece of property. It's gonna be in full sun. Fortunately, I brought the wrong shirt, but it's better than nothing. Water, gloves, chainsaw chaps. There's a ton of tarweed out there. It sticks to everything. And my boots, after having spent a couple days back there, are just messed up. This at least keeps the tarweed off.
I'll get a 4-wheeler soon to cover ground faster, but there's something about walking. You notice things, you hear things, and you actually experience the land. I'm not sure when this tree came down, but it probably happened within the last month because that was the last time I was up here. I'm learning from the National Wildlife Federation and the NRCS that both support a recommendation of leaving 3 standing dead trees, or they call them snags, per acre for wildlife habitat. And this supports over 85 species of nesting birds, small animals, amphibians, reptiles, insects, fungi, and mosses. This is all stuff that we want here.
I'm just taking a little pause here. Just so that right there is Sunset Rock, and the drone is flying up overhead from Sunset Rock, so you'll be able to see us waving in the camera. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk out along this ridge to this peak, and then we'll have a good understanding of what the next few peaks look like. So I'm leaving my chainsaw equipment and camera equipment there just so I could be a little bit more nimble going up to this. I guess it's the first peak? I don't know. So this peak is pretty distinctive here. Oh, look, I just found some of this yesterday. That's cool. Listening for rattlesnakes. This one's pretty thickety, so I don't think I'm gonna get in there too much, save my energy. Next peak is over there, and the last peak is all the way over there. I think actually it's on the other side of that face. The road splits off, and then it cuts around the backside and switchbacks all the way down the mountain. And this is the road that we're gonna continue on back along the southern property line. Before I leave this first peak, I wanted to show you, it sits above another beautiful meadow area. On the maps, it looks like, depending on where you draw the line, it could be as much as 10 acres or maybe even 20 acres. But it goes into rolling hills that wrap around and up into these meadows here. And you can see here that there's a road. So around this peak, there was a road cut in. Even for a quad, I think we're gonna have to rebuild it. But what's cool about this meadow is there's some moisture that's still here. It's the end of June, and there's some green grass down in the valleys. But there is a burned out and shot up Volkswagen Beetle. I'm not exactly sure what year, but I'm sure we could figure that out. It's just upside down in that meadow. We do have a well over there, which is promising, although it's about a half mile from the house. So that well will probably, if we can get it going, we'll use for a water tank on this side, just so that when we start grazing and start bringing animals through, there's water sources. So, something to talk about. I was out here 2 days ago with Napa RCD, looking at the state of these roads. And one of the things that we kept noticing all along, and I'll point out more of, is that at the very top of the hill here, where water comes onto the property, it hits these roads, isn't managed properly, and then creates these really deep erosion gullies where the water picks up speed, it takes away more topsoil, all sorts of other stuff that we want to keep here. The plan is, when we come and rebuild this road, that we're going to find all the places where water is crossing the road, and we're going to put armored surfaces in. So it's basically different size rock that slow the water down and let it spread out, and then let it continue on the other side of the road into the natural watershed as it was before. The only difference is that it won't be full of silt, won't be full of organic material from our ranch, and it'll be technically slower and calmer. So hopefully that doesn't just continue to cascade down and into the streams and across the road and create flooding and all sorts of other stuff. Next. Oh, that breeze feels good. Just cleared another tree out of the road. And now I'm walking out to, I almost ate it.
All right, I'm walking out to the second peak now.
I brought the drone out so that we can get some better shots. Oh, and there's a cool rock formation in here too. All right, here we are. There was that last peak. There's the road that we came in, took out some trees there, took out a big tree right there. That's the peak that I did not go down to. We've got another little rock formation here, and then we have yet another peak to get to. So we'll take this road here in a second and go out that way. All right. I'm lightening my load. Chainsaw equipment is being left behind. I'm keeping my chaps on just because you can't really even imagine how sticky this tar weed is. It's just like, it's covered in sap and resin. Of why it's probably not a good idea to bring the truck in here. This is about a 5-foot opening and it drops down probably way down in there, probably 4 feet, and there's another one there. So yeah, road could use some work. This is the end of the property. Well, not really. I mean, it goes that way a ways, but that's the final peak that I was looking to get to. I think I'll reduce some of this weight and heat as there's no more tar weed that I can see out there towards the peak. So now we're gonna hike up there and we'll fly the drone along the ridgeline and I'll pretend to drink some water because I don't have any more. So the road goes down that way. Not today. We'll do it another time. Wow. There's a shadow on the mountain across the way. Here, take a look at this. Gives you a sense of the edge of this mountain here. Now it drops off. And there's just so much. There's so much still to explore. I mean, it's all a little overwhelming, but it's also exciting. There's a little peak right here, and I've never realized that, yeah, right now, I'm right there. We're right on this peak here, or I'm here. Yeah, that's right. I'm on this peak right here, and I'm looking down at that edge, and that edge is right there. So we're effectively, I'm standing right there, and I'm looking over this edge, and there's a shadow on the mountain across the way. I don't know if that works, but this will be on fast mode, so it should be pretty interesting. Yeah. Oh shit. Wolf. That was close.
Hopefully this paints a better picture of the state of our land. We've got a lot to learn and a lot to do. Will any of it work?
Landing.